Hey guys, it's Andre from Critical Point, and today we're going to be talking about how you can study information so much more efficiently than you're probably doing right now. So stay tuned. My name is Andre, and I've been helping students master the SAT and ACT for over a decade now. I've scored perfect scores on these tests as an adult, and one of the ways I think I've been able to do that is because I know how to learn information. Whether it's math equations you need to know, grammar rules, concepts you need to study, there's so many things that you need to learn in test prep that are crucial to moving your score. So I want to share with you something I call the study cycle, which helped me in college graduate summa cum laude, and just put in less work and effort than like my peers. This is how I see most students study. They'll take the information and they'll just look at it. And they'll look at it, and they kind of think that, all right, by looking at it, their eyes are absorbing the information, kind of like drinking a milkshake. Like, this is the milkshake, and your eyes are taking it all in. And that's gonna do something, like it's better than not engaging with the information at all. But the reality is, your brain is not interacting with that information in a deep, meaningful way. Why is that? Well, what I have here is a picture of what some might call a potato, but is in fact a brain. And the brain is divided up into 4 lobes. You have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. Okay? Now, when you look at information, you're interacting with it in a visual way. The occipital lobe is really what you're primarily engaging in that method. What I want to do, though, is I want to try to engage as many lobes, as many parts of the brain as possible. Because anytime you learn something, you're creating a neural circuit. And the more resilient that neural circuit is, the more parts of the brain that you're activating when you're learning something new, the stronger and more long-lasting that memory and that information is going to be, and the better you're going to encode it. So, what I want to do is use this study cycle process that's going to engage as many of these parts of the brain as possible, because we're not just going to look, we're going to write, which is engaging the motor function of your brain. We're going to speak the information, which is also motor, but is also oral, right? It's also auditory. I say oral, A-U-R-A-L, not O-R-A-L, okay? So step 1 of the study cycle is absorb. So if we're talking about math equations, we want to look at our equation sheet and take a chunk of information just big enough that we can hold it in our head. For some equations, that could be just 1 equation. For other equations, it could be 2, maybe 3, if we're really good, okay? But let's say maybe 1 or 2. So we take that chunk of equations. Then we're going to write it out 5 to 10 times on a piece of paper or a whiteboard. And as we write it out, we're going to say each part of the equation. After we've done that, we're going to look away from the whiteboard or the piece of paper, and we're going to say the chunk of information out loud 5 to 10 times, visualizing the information as we say it. Step 2 is check. We're going to check that we wrote everything down correctly, and if we didn't, we're going to go back to the absorb stage and repeat that, making sure that we're writing down the correct information. We want to make sure we're not misremembering anything or getting anything down wrong, because if we don't catch that early on, we're going to remember the wrong thing, okay? Now, once we're sure that we've gotten the first chunk down, let's say of 2 equations, we're going to add the next chunk of maybe another 2 equations. Once we have both chunks down, we're going to refresh the information by creating a super chunk. Okay, so we have the first chunk, then we have the second chunk. Once we have those 2 down, we're going to create a new chunk that has both chunks in them, okay? And we're going to write that out 5 to 10 times. The last thing we can do to try to strengthen the information in our brains is we can switch up the order that we write out the chunks, okay? Because we don't always necessarily want to engage it in a certain order. So that's the study cycle. I'm going to prove to you that this works. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take something I have no knowledge about, which is Taylor Swift, and her last 10 albums, and I am going to memorize the album name and the year, and I'm going to show you the process, and we'll see how long it takes me. Now, I'm not a Swiftie. I know it seems like I have that face. I've gotten that before. I actually am not a Swiftie, although I have sung one of her songs at karaoke before at open mic. So I decided to do this for my wife, but let's see how it goes for me. I'm going to take the smallest chunk of information, Taylor Swift 2006, Fearless 2008. Taylor Swift 2006, Fearless 2008. Okay, so it's probably 2 albums and their years. Taylor Swift 2006, Fearless 2008. Red 2012. Speak Now 2010, Red 2012. Now, saying things in a certain rhythm can also help you encode the information a little better, a little more efficiently. These are things I'm just realizing as I'm doing them. Speak Now 2010, Red 2012. Now that I have both chunks just lightly ingrained in my mind, I'm going to do both of them together. So, Taylor Swift 2000. So I feel like I have this bigger chunk, the super chunk, down a little bit. I'm going to keep doing it a couple more times and make sure I really have it down. Something else I noticed about the first 4 is that they're all 2 years apart, so that's another thing that can help me remember what years they are. All right, I think I have that chunk down now. Got that down enough. I'm going to try to go to the next 2. Okay, now I kind of have that one lightly in my head. I'm just going to go back and refresh the first super chunk of 4. All right, this is where I got to check. 1989 is first. Okay, so I had it right the first time. All right. 2020, Lover 2019, Folklore 2020. Oh, this is so... Taylor Swift. I guess she's okay. Okay, then maybe I would do that again and again. I'm going to try to do the last 2 now. Evermore 2020, Midnights 2022. So Evermore and Folklore rhyme. That's something I can remember. Evermore and Folklore. And then Midnight. Oh, okay, this is easy to remember. Okay, Midnight is like the last part of the night. I guess you could think of it as the first part of the night, right? But since it's the first hour of the next day, but I'll think of it as like the end of the day. So Midnight is at the end of the Taylor Swift album list. Evermore and Midnight. Folklore and Evermore are both 2020. Maybe that was planned for them to both rhyme. Folklore, Evermore, and then Midnights. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Swifties, I messed that one up. 2022. Okay. Okay, so the only ones that aren't odd, that aren't even years are Reputation and Lover. The rest are odd. All right, so I'm going to try all 10 now. I really should have focused more on Evermore and Midnights, but I think I can do this. And by the way, I'm not looking at other things on the board as I'm doing this. Taylor Swift, 2006. Fearless, 2008. Speak Now, 2010, Red 2012. See, that rhythm I said before really helped me. Speak Now, Red 2012. 1989, 2014, Reputation, 2017, Lover, 2019, Folklore, 2020, Evermore, 2020, Midnights, 2022. Okay, let's check it out. Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, Reputation, Lover, Folklore, Evermore, Midnights. Okay, pretty good. That only took me maybe a couple of minutes. There you go, guys. That's a strategy you can use to memorize math equations, memorize common rules, even if there's a practice problem or a concept that you just want to do over and over again to make sure that you really understand it and you memorize it. Now, here's the thing. If I don't practice this, like I could tell you the 10 Taylor Swift albums now, but if I don't practice this tomorrow and the next day, just a little bit to keep up with the information and rehearse it, I'm going to forget it. Okay, so super, super important that we continue to rehearse the information so we don't lose it. Guys, if you got value from this, throw me a like, maybe even a subscribe, who knows? Because I'm going to be making a lot of videos like this to show you how you can become a better student and a better learner to master the SAT and ACT. God bless, guys.